I'm Cheree Ramirez, the host of Community Unity by Children's Services Council of Martin County, located at the 10th Street Studio. We're back in studio for another episode of Community Unity, and today I have Kathleen Lannon. She is the Youth Crime Prevention Intervention Specialist, say that 10 times fast, for City of Stuart PD Youth Crime Prevention Intervention Program.
Correct.
Oh my goodness, that was a tongue twister. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to dive into your programming and what it is that you do for the youth here in Martin County.
My program is probably 2, 3, 4-fold. I wear many hats.
Well, let's talk about your hat as an individual first. Let's
Okay.
tell me about yourself and why you feel that the work that you're doing is important.
Well, I have a background in social work. I have a master's degree in social work from FAU. I started working with kids when I was 15 years old for the village of Palm Springs as a camp counselor.
Where's Palm Springs?
It's West Lake Worth.
Okay.
And so from there, that developed my passion for recreation and working with kids. And then after high school, I got an AA degree in physical education and taught elementary school PE for 4 years. And then I got out of the field and did retail. And then I realized I missed working with kids, and I went back and started working in a residential psychiatric hospital
Oh,
for
wow.
children.
So you went from education aspect for physical activity to psychiatric.
Yes,
That's a big shift. What made you want to change?
because I was young and kind of just trying to find myself, and a friend of mine worked in the psychiatric hospital, and they needed mental health technicians, and she asked me to come work per diem, which is as needed, and I went and did that, and I actually fell in love with that, and from there went back and got my bachelor's in social work, and loved what I was doing there, and then went on to another residential program where I worked with 15 and 16-year-old adolescent at-risk boys, and moved and bought my first house in Martin County, which led me to relocating work from Palm Beach County to Martin.
What year was that?
2000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I got hired with the Stuart Police Department as my current position and developed the program into what it is now. And so I basically went full circle, started in recreation. My office is at a recreation center. So now I'm working with kids and interacting with them in schools and in my office and in the community.
Wow, that is a lot of work. I mean, I see you in the community frequently, at different events and that sort of thing. So can you tell me a little bit about elementary schools students? What are you doing with them?
I basically utilize the Phoenix curriculum, which is a at-risk program for kids to keep them out of getting involved in the criminal justice system, gang involvement, peer pressure, anti-bullying, and teach the 4th and 5th graders at J.D. Parker. It's basically a social skills type group. And
Okay. So what is it that they're typically experiencing at home for you to have to go in for an intervention?
I get called for the intervention part. I get calls from parents that call me that anything from my child is experimenting with drug use to they're not going to school, disrespectful at home, I can't control them, they're sneaking out at night. So I step in and try to meet with the youth to find out what's going on, meet with the parents, find out, what some of the history and the background, and from there try to find some um, other referral sources that may help the family to so that their child can be successful.
JD Parker is your relationship for the elementary school ages. A lot of that's prevention. Um, Where do these students typically live, and what is it their environment like?
JD Parker students pretty much live um, within the city boundaries, most of them, whether it's the East Stewart community. I believe some students come from Sewell's Point, Golden Gate. Um, so some of it is actually out of the city. Some of the environment that they see is they come from low socioeconomic to high socioeconomic. The school is basically multicultural, and as far as like finances, it's all over
All
the
over the
board.
gambit. So, for the prevention aspect for the students, what kind of activities are you doing with them?
Each week we do a different topic. So we've done a topic on peer pressure. Um, we've done a topic on dangers of social media, how to protect yourself on social media, anti-bullying. We'll be doing how to avoid gang involvement, and substance abuse, how to avoid
Mhm.
the substance abuse, the importance of school and your grades. And I utilize YouTube videos
Mm,
that are enhance the discussion. So basically, it's a video, and then we have an open discussion and dialogue. And then from there, we give the direction on how to make the positive steps in your life.
that's great. So, for the gang and prevention, are there gangs in Martin County?
There There has been, I mean, gang involvement is the definition of a gang is 3 or more people that have a
Okay.
common interest that adopt the same style of clothing. So with that, when we think of gangs, typically people generally think the negative gangs. But
Mhm.
under that definition, that can basically be anything. And that's what I stress on to the kids, that what makes gangs illegal is the criminal behavior that goes along with it. So it is not illegal to be in a gang.
Okay.
What is illegal is the behaviors, and so we go over what the behaviors are and have them kind of identify those criminal, acts such as burglary, stealing cars, carrying weapons, and robbing people, selling drugs. That's what makes it a criminal gang versus anything else.
Versus just some kids wanting to wear the same kind of clothes.
Correct. Yes.
I didn't realize that that was like a stipulation for gangs. That's so interesting. That's learn something new every day.
And one thing that, when we do talk about gangs in the media, we don't give the gang name. We do not give notoriety to the gang.
That's good to know because I mean, that's what they do it for, right? Typically is to be able to get the pin or what is the
Well, they it gives them that badge of honor.
yeah, and that's that was pin of honor is what I was thinking. I was like, no, that's not it. It's badge of honor. Thank
So as soon as you give name to if you as soon as you give credit to one gang, another gang will pop up because they want that cred, or they want that, neighborhood or whatever. So we don't give out the name when we're teaching, officers with our gang through the Florida Gang Investigators Association. When we do our trainings, that's one thing that we stress is don't give the media the name.
interesting. Hmm. So, 24 years of service here in Martin County and Stewart
Mhm.
specifically. Um, what are some stories that have been impactful for you and to continue to want to continue to do this work?
Um, when I see a student successful, probably the biggest success is watching the, staff that I work with now through the City of Stuart Community Center when they were kids here, and they came through the program. And now they're back, they're working, and they're adults, and they're my colleagues now. And they were 5, 6, 7 years old.
Wow.
So I think that is probably the greatest success.
And having them continue
Yeah,
and um leaving a legacy, that's pretty tremendous. And I can tell that that is something that is
I get
impactful for
choked up
yourself.
with
Yeah.
because it really does. warm my heart.
And the impact that you're making in these children's lives, like, as they're growing, they're gonna come back to you and be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, remember me? Thank you so much." So, thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, 24 years of just putting your heart and soul into this program and seeing the, evolving of it and the development of it, has just been tremendous. So I've only been in Martin County for 14 years, but I've known about your program for at least the last 8 years, and it's been remarkable to see, um, the programming and how it's grown, through the Phoenix curriculum and everything else, and I was honored today to be able to go and see some of your, programming at work. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did today at Spectrum?
Yeah, I work with Spectrum. If for those of you that are not aware, is an alternative school. Um, so it's for kids that have struggled in their regular school or credit recovery, and that need some extra attention. And I work very closely with those students. Some of them are actually on my caseload for the diversion or civil citation. And then I also work with doing prevention groups. And today we happen to have done the Fatal Vision goggle program.
That was interesting.
I have goggles that range from .04 up to totally wasted, and a pair of THC goggles. And the youth put the goggles on, and they go through a series of different what we call sobriety tests in law enforcement. I'm not a police officer, so I cannot really actually administer a sobriety test, but I simulate that. And then, I have a tricycle that they ride, they navigate a course, and the other students watch and observe how they're interacting, and they have a lot of fun with it, but then in the end, we have a discussion on the importance of not drinking and driving or using drugs and getting behind
Yeah.
a wheel.
Well, and you shared a story that was very impactful for them because it's something that happened right here in our own backyard, um, and to me, sharing those real life stories is something that's going to hopefully help keep them from getting behind the wheel and or even using,
Mhm.
drugs or alcohol. So, that it was just so much fun to see the interaction between you and these students and how much they are actually benefiting from having that, exercise done. Because I mean, I put on the goggles myself, and, um, I was completely shocked. I was like, "Wow, that's" I put on the THC goggles, I think, and I was like, "What is happening here?" So, um, I think I heard them say, "Man, I have double vision. I can't see what I'm doing," while they were riding the trike and that sort of thing, and, um, great job with that. That's really wonderful. How long have you had those goggles and been doing, this sort of exercise?
These particular goggles we've had for about 2 years. We had the first generation that was just one pair, and so it didn't have the different effects, but once this new set came out, I convinced my supervisor that we needed the new and improved, which it shows the different
Oh,
levels, so
yes.
they can actually see how their vision is impacted. Now, of course, it
Mm,
doesn't take the physical effects, but it gives them the vision so that when they are behind the wheel or with somebody else that might be behind the wheel, what they may be experiencing.
mhm, so, I think that's another reason why Project Graduation was created, because that was a graduation night story or something that you were sharing, right? So, Project Graduation, they do the lock-in for all
Mhm.
the graduates, and I know you partner with them too, right? You help support that in some way.
I have not been to the project graduation, but our police department,
Yeah.
other people in the community relations unit at the police department have been a part of that.
I know I've seen Stuart PD there.
Yes. Lieutenant Brian Bossio
Yes.
is usually there.
Oh, Brian, he's my buddy. We went through leadership together. Shout out, Brian. Class 27 leadership. So it's been really interesting to see how the community comes together for that.
Mhm,
Um, for Jensen, Martin County, and for South Fork, they hold it at the YMCA. So it's another organization that's funded with taxpayer dollars,
mhm.
to be able to keep them safe after graduation to help bring those numbers down of drinking and driving because that's very important for the prevention aspect of keeping our students safe and others,
Yes.
right? So, you said something about the civil citation. Can you tell me a little bit about that program?
Yeah, civil citation is actually the name has just recently changed, to delinquency diversion pre-arrest program.
Why can't we make these names a little bit easier and get not tongue twisty?
I have no idea. The state changed the name. I just go along with it.
So it's diversion, delinquency diversion. What?
It is pre-arrest delinquency diversion program.
All right, there we go.
And I think they did that because they wanted the term pre-arrest in there, which means that it is not an official charge,
Hmm.
that there's a they call them delinquent acts for juveniles. It's not a criminal act, it's a delinquent act. And instead of a juvenile going through the formal judicial processing in front of a judge, they've came up with this pre-arrest program that the state allows police departments and other community agencies to provide services to kids so that they come and they still have the misdemeanor for misdemeanor charges that are non-violent or no weapon charges, no firearms, and they have an opportunity to keep their record clean. They still have to get sanctions put on them. Sanctions, fancy word for consequence. And when they complete their sanctions, which could be anything from letters of apology to completing Project Lift, which is another community program, the PAL program,
Hmm.
essays, mandatory school attendance, sometimes counseling. When they complete those, then the their arrest stays off their record.
Yeah.
If they do not complete them or they get a subsequent charge, then it does go to the state attorney for formal judicial processing.
Wow. So you are giving these. So what are the age ranges for something to be able to take advantage of that?
Well, it could I mean, you could have a child as young as 6, which is rare. Most of the time, elementary schools don't get a civil citation, but it has occurred. The youngest one I've had in my career is a 6-year-old.
Wow.
Um and it was more that every other avenue was not being utilized by the parents, and it was more of a wake-up call for the parents to get services mandated to help their child.
Oh, wow.
So that it's sometimes used as a tool,
Hmm.
for that if that's the only way that we can get the child into some services. But it's rare that you have an elementary school. So I would say the average age is 13 to 16 for
Okay.
civil citation.
So what are some of the different types of charges that these kids receive?
Retail theft, battery, domestic battery, which is when they put their hands on somebody in their family. I've had possession of marijuana, possession of alcohol, criminal mischief. Those are the typical ones.
So some of the partners, I heard you mention Project Lift and PAL. Are there any other community partners that you have?
Tykes and Teens, Suncoast, Data.
What's data?
Data is, it's an inpatient for drug and alcohol, and they also do outpatient counseling for substance abuse. That's their main focus.
Now, that's all clearly focused on juveniles,
Correct.
right? So they're separate from any adults.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. That's
Yes.
good to know. So what kind of relationship do you have with the school district since you are going into some of the schools? Like, how did you get into the schools? Where did that begin?
Actually, I J.D. Parker because it's a city school, and our chief, wanted us interacting with the students there, at a young age. So he's an advocate of being involved with the kids, and I started getting really involved with Spectrum because I started getting a few of my kids for diversion that attended Spectrum, and I wanted to put eyes on them daily. So I started going to the school every day and greeting them as they got off the bus, finding out what kind of challenges they were having, how they were doing in school. I wanted them to know that I was there to support them. And from there, the relationship with the staff and all the other students grew to where I'm basically a fixture there. I'm at the school every morning again to greet the kids even if they're not on my caseload. And then Miss Mills had asked me if I wanted to start doing some prevention groups there because she knew that I had the Phoenix curriculum and we had talked about the fatal vision goggles, and she sees the importance of any kind of extra services the students can get and support. So that's how that relationship grew.
So how can we as a community better support you?
Hmm. I think you guys do a great job supporting us.
Well, outside of just Children's Services Council, um, how can the community get involved?
um, Parents attending their child's activities after school. Parental involvement is the key to the success of our students. Um,
100%. Yeah.
and I really believe that that is what is needed more, is parents being out there
Mhm.
and encouraging.
That seems to be the theme across the board for everybody that I've spoken to is parental involvement. So if you have children, be involved. I know as working moms and working dads and the way that the world can be sometimes, it's difficult, but we have a community that supports and programming in the community that want to help meet your child where they're at. So um, thank you for helping them see that they have a mentor
Thank you.
through the school district, through, your programming with Spectrum and JD Parker and Project Lift. Pow, man, you're all over the board, Kathleen. And where's your office located?
My office is located right here at the 10th Street Community Center,
Yes.
and I have been in the same office for my entire 24 and a half years.
I think that's where I met you when I first met you going through leadership. How can families get connected to you?
They can get connected to me through their school, through my office number, which is 772-220-3927,
Say that one more time for me.
772-220-3927, or my email, which is Lannon, Lannon, at ci.stewart.fl.us.
That's a long one. We'll have that in the show description as well. Is there a website for you?
The website is actually the City of Stuart, and you click on the police link and the drop down to youth intervention, and it explains the program on there.
So you brought up your chief earlier. Can you tell me a little bit about your chief and the impact that he's had?
Well, I wouldn't be my job would not be successful without the support of Chief Tuminelli, prior Chief Diaz, and before that, Chief Edward Morley. All three chiefs that I have worked under have been in total support of my program and what I do with the kids, and it would not be successful without their support and their encouragement of our officers getting involved. And that is a huge part of our program, is officer involvement, which is led to our Cops and Bobbers program.
Tell me a little bit about your Cops and Bobbers program.
Cops and Bobbers originated with a concept that I had back in 2014 with one of my supervisors, Sergeant Frank Legavo, and he was a big time fisherman and boater. And just at a round table lunch that we were having, we were just talking about different ideas. And I brought up about maybe we could take the police boat out and go fishing, taking the kids fishing. And he jumped on that and he's like, write a proposal to the chief. And which we did. We pitched it to Chief Diaz and he bought it hook, line, and sinker, so to speak. And from that, that program was developed. It started out as 1 day a week and has grown to 3 days a week this past summer.
That's wonderful.
And kids are rewarded based on behavior in our after school program. And that is with a licensed boat captain who happens to be a police officer. We have a few captains within our agency, and Officer Joe Hogan pretty much runs that program. And we introduce the kids to boat safety, the importance of our waterway, our ecosystem, fishing, different types of fish if they catch any.
It's a whole day of education.
Yes, but it's a fun day too. And the greatest thing that's come out of that is if you know teen girls, which I think you do, the they are hooked to the phone all the time and they put the phone down. And we tell them that you can use the phone to take pictures. We're not TikToking, we're not Snapchatting and
Any of those dances?
doing the dances, and they actually get out and interact and have fun and forget that the phone was even on the boat.
That's wonderful. I love that. That's we all need that sort of engagement, I think, and disconnection from social media. And I think that it's really important the social media aspect of the training because it can have such an impact on their future, what they're posting, because they don't realize that future employers look at that.
Mhm.
So I just kind of went back into what you were talking about before, but all of the programming that you're doing, again, you're just planting seeds into these kids' hearts and just walking alongside them and thank you. Again, thank you for what you're doing, Kathleen. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that I might have missed?
No, I mean, the greatest success is seeing the kids be successful. There was one day I was at getting lunch at Chipotle, and a young man opened the door and let me in, and he said, "Wait a minute, are you Miss Kathleen?" And I looked, and I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "No." So he told me his name, and he's like, because of you and keeping me out of trouble, I now have a job. I graduated high school and I have a wife and a child."
Wow. That's just that makes your heart happy.
It makes my heart happy and it's like, wow, you did something. I mean, you have to put into perspective that if you have 10 kids and you help one,
Mhm.
you've done something. You're not gonna save every one of them, but if you can plant the seed in everyone, then and some of them come out and successful and come back and thank you, and I get that a lot in this job. Being here as long as I have.
Yeah, 24 years.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. So thank you again. Kathleen is a treasure on the Treasure Coast here in Martin County because she's a true gem. And just remember that as you're engaging with children, whether you have your own or you're a mentor, it means something to them. You never know what you can be planting in their hearts, so make it a kind thing. Um, Thank you
Thank
again, and you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to Community Unity. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share our information with friends and family to help spread the information on life-changing programs funded by CSCMC, made possible by the homeowners of Martin County.